Hey everybody, and welcome to March's edition of Board Game Buys. So this is a series where I talk about all the new games I bought during the month. So first up, I have The Magnificent, which is a game I bought for a number of reasons. Number one, I got it for a very cheap price on a restock order. Number two is because I absolutely love this design team of Ida Svensson and Christian A. Otsby, who design games like Capital Lux 2 and Santa Maria. And number three is because of the actual mechanisms themselves. So this one has dice drafting, tile placement, and actually quite a cool theme as well. I'm actually trying to put on these kind of stage shows or circus shows, I suppose. I don't know too much about the specifics on how the game plays, but all those ingredients make it a kind of a recipe for success for me. So hopefully it's going to be good. I've heard good things about it, and you know, on paper it looks like everything that I'm going to enjoy. So that is The Magnificent. I'm very happy to give that one a go. Next up we have Emerald. So as you can see here, this is an older game. This is actually one of Rudiger Dorn's original games. Rudiger Dorn being a designer I love, one of my favourite designers ever. And I think my brother and I are on a bit of a binge trying to go through all of his older designs to see which ones we enjoy. This one is probably the lightest game of his that I've seen, to be honest. As you're simply trying to move these pawns down this track here, trying to collect these treasure by landing on these spots. That's pretty much the extent of the game. I have played this one a couple of times and kind of ready to review it, so I'll hold my opinions back until that review. But that is Emerald by Rudiger Dorn. We've also got a couple of Oink games here. So we have Scout and Mask Men. Now these two games have really intrigued me, and I tend to like the stuff that Oink puts out, especially when they have a kind of a next level of complexity, and these two seem to fit in that bracket. So Scout is like a weird hand management game where you have cards in your hand with different numbers on, but you can never manipulate the order of those cards. And the idea is you're trying to kind of display a number of cards out either in a run of cards or all the same number, and then other people have got to try and trump that by playing kind of more impressive runs, etc. And you're going to get points accordingly if you can beat people or kind of better people's runs and stuff. You're trying to shadow your cards and get points. It looks really clever. I quite like this hand management system. I don't have a game that uses that mechanism of having a rigid hand of cards. Something like Bonanza uses that, but this one looks really interesting and I'm excited to play it. So that is Scout. The second one, as I mentioned, is Mask Men. So this is like a ladder climbing game with this kind of luchador theme. And you'll basically just have the hand of cards represented by these different wrestlers. And then you are basically, as the game goes on, you have to keep kind of bettering people's numbers of cards they play, which will determine the strength of that wrestler. And then you're basically trying to shed all your cards and be the first to do so. Looks really interesting, and I'm quite excited to see how it plays in practice and how the decision comes through, because mechanically it looks great, but I've not played it yet, so I don't know how it works in practice. But it looks interesting, and again, another game I don't have anything like this in my collection. So that is Mask Men. Next one we have Quest. So this one I really was inspired to pick up because I had such a successful game of the Resistance Avalon recently. And this one is by the same designer, Don Eskridge. And this is kind of like new roles basically for the Avalon system. I think it's a bit more simple as well, so I'm quite excited to see what it does differently. But I have a lot of trust in this designer. I know this is kind of his forte and what he does well. So really kind of intrigued to see what the differences are. Is it going to be better than the Resistance? Who knows? But I'm kind of all in really. I want to see what it's like. I love the art style, and hopefully, again, it's good or equally as good or better than the Resistance. Also got a couple of Grail games here, one that I've been after for a long time with Yokohama. So this one was actually really affordable in the UK a couple of years ago, but it's gone out of print and I've had to pay a bit of a premium to get this one, but I don't mind really. This one is kind of a point-to-point worker movement kind of style game, that's something a bit like Istanbul, as you have this big grid of tiles here which all have different kind of things that they do, and you're basically trying to get points in different ways. Really like the look of this one. I mean, it has all the kind of ingredients that I like. I love Istanbul, so I've heard this one is kind of like a gamier version of Istanbul, and to me that sounds great. So finally I've got a copy of Yokohama in my collection, which I've been after for a long time. Seems to be my kind of Euro. So that is Yokohama. Also we have a little game here called Kaching. So this was recommended to me by Mackenzie Franklin from Side Game LLC. He He said he played this one just on the off chance, and it turned out to be an excellent game. This is like a little 2-player economic game, as you are trying to, well, forgive the damage on the box, but you're trying to basically collect these different cards from these different rows, or columns, sorry, and you can only ever take the bottom ones of these columns, and you're basically trying to collect these numbers and multiply with them with each other to get money in order to buy new cards. And it's got that real tight, almost like Seven Wonders dual drafting system, where you've got to be very careful about leaving your opponent's opportunity. So you're not only really worried about what you do, but you're also worried about what your opponent does. So again, I've played this one a couple of times. Again, I'll be a bit coy on my thoughts, but I will be able to drop a review soon. Also, we've got Morganland here, or Aladdin's Dragons. This is a Richard Breese design, actually, who you might know from games like Keyflower. This one is the card game version of the classic board game Aladdin's Dragons. And I think this one pretty much does the same thing, but obviously in card format. As you're basically trying to claim treasure from these different dragons by playing these almost like worker cards, and then getting points accordingly. So a very simple little card game, but who knows, it could be decent. We also have a more recent game here with High Score by Dr. Rainer Knizia. This one is like ultra light. I'm talking like 1 out of 5 weight dice rolling game, as you're trying to create certain combos or high values of these dice, depending on the current objective. So you've got a whole bunch of different objectives that you're trying to go for. So some might say this symbol means 10 each. You get like a certain amount of re-rolls or stuff, and you're basically trying to create rows of numbers, or like a whole set of pip values, or the highest value, depending on what the current card says. So very simple, ultra quick. That is High Score. We also have another Grail game with NiPon. So I've been trying to get through the older What's Your Game design. So I've managed to play quite a few of them now, and I've played Signorie, I've played Vasco da Gama, I've got Zangwo, which I haven't played yet, and this is one of the ones that was the hardest to get. Got quite a lot going on in this kind of economic Euro. I have kind of understood the rules, but I've kind of forgot them now. But kind of my style of Euro, really, quite involved. I like economic games, and I tend to like everything What's Your Game puts out. So hopefully, again, the game is going to be good, and it's worth that effort to track this one down. So that is NiPon. Also have The Estates. This one is an ultra cutthroat bidding style game. You're trying to build these skyscrapers, really. I think the player interaction is a huge part of this game, as you can basically deliberately try and scupper people's plans. I'm quite intrigued to see how that plays out in practice, because normally I don't like ultra confrontational games. There are exceptions, but this one, I've heard the gameplay is rock solid. I think it's a bit like you either love it or hate it style of game, and hopefully I fall into the love it side of things. But I got this for a good price, so I'm at least intrigued to try it out and see what it plays like. So that is The Estates. Also picked up Gunka Mono. This one is a game I've actually been interested in for quite some time. I think this is actually a re-implementation of an older game. I think it was called Heartland. This is like an abstract tile placement style game, as you're trying to create these big blocks of colours and score points, either just victory points, or you can climb up on these tracks and then get these kind of strongholds and put them on the board, meaning that particular region is yours, and that would be like a ticking point to get points every single round. So I actually do really like the look of this game, and I think I'll like it. So that is Gunka Mono. I also picked up, or my brother picked up, Maurice Rosa. So I don't really know much about this game, other than it sounds extremely unique. This is a game where you are trying to listen in, or drop cubes in this tower here, and try to guess where that cube has landed, because I assume this has kind of cut out parts in it, and it's got the potential to land on these different regions, and then you're basically trying to do some guesswork and see where people land and stuff. So yeah, if anything, it's different, and who knows, it doesn't sound too good on paper, but it might be good. It might be funner than it actually sounds. So that is Maurice Rosa. I also picked up the expansion for Viceroy, which is a great game. I really love Viceroy. This one kind of adds modules in, so it is a modular expansion, one of which lets you kind of go below your pyramid, and there's lots of different things you can add in. So I'll be kind of trying to tailor my game to see how I like it. Who knows, it all might be a bit too excessive, but I didn't really pay too much for this one, so I'm not too fussed. So yeah, that is the expansion, Times of Darkness for Viceroy. And the final game I picked up this month is Polis. So Polis is a bit of a different one for me, because this is like a Euro war game hybrid, but it does sound interesting at least. Now I had to start looking at the rules and it didn't really quite sink in as well as I would have liked. So I don't quite know how this one is going to land, but it's a two-player kind of war style game with a lot of economy and a lot of infrastructure and stuff, but wonderfully produced. It looks great on the table, but I'm going to have to kind of reserve judgment and hold opinions back before I play it, because I don't really know how it's going to work. But I've heard really good things, in fact, exceptional things. But is it going to be the game for me? I'm not quite sure. But I'm certainly all up for trying. So that's it, really. That's a bunch of games that I picked up this month. So I've got quite a big spread there, from expansions to ultralight games, pretty heavy war style games, and even some really obscure games such as Kaching. So there we go, really. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please hit like and subscribe to the channel. Check out my other videos too, and let me know what games you've picked up this month, because I'll be interested to hear. And for everyone else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye.